Fixed blade knives. Even for those of us who are deep into the realms of the EDC knife world, these are not really relevant for the most part. Rarely do we even consider daily carrying a fixed blade knife, and less often do we actually do it. And for good reason. Most of them are too big and bulky, they aren't necessary for most daily tasks, and as a bonus, depending on where you live, they might even be illegal to carry. But there is one knife that might change your opinion on the subject. Sup YouTube, today we are talking about the Heidi Blacksmith number 1. It is a fixed blade knife made by German knife manufacturer Markus Heidgen, aka Heidi Blacksmith, and made by Chinese knife producer Bestech. Just to be clear on the naming, I'm simply going to call it the Heidi going forward. I have owned many fixed blade knives in my time, and up until I bought the Heidi, I have never even considered to carry one of them in my day-to-day life. Those knives were all purpose built for hard use. That's what they excel at. They are, however, not small or pocketable, unlike the Heidi, which is tiny in comparison to most fixed blade knives. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. Before we go into detail about the actual knife and talk about how it performed for me over the past 20 months or so since I bought it, let's take a quick minute and talk about the origins of its design and about why any sane human being might even consider carrying a fixed blade knives in their day-to-day life. As I said earlier, it was designed by Heidi Blacksmith, famous German custom knife maker and designer, absolute legend, the Michelangelo of bladesmithing, who made a name for himself in the custom knife world with his unique, very slender yet elegant and functional knife designs. Once you've seen a Heidi Blacksmith design, you will instantly recognize his design language if you ever see it again. The design he's most famous for is this. A long, slim handle that is sufficient for 5-finger usage and a blade with a tall flank that also serves as a finger guard. Within this framework, his custom knives come in all imaginable designs with almost all materials known to mankind used for the handles. They are, however, very hard to come by. If they ever are for sale in some kind of knife boutique store, they are gone pretty much the second they are available. And legend has it that his waiting list for a made-to-order custom knife is, well, long. Also, as you can imagine, with his knives being handmade from the best materials by a craftsman in good old Germany, they aren't exactly cheap, even though I'm personally surprised that they aren't even more expensive than they actually are. Most of his custom knives are somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 to 500 euros from what I've seen. Again, that's not cheap, but for a high quality handmade custom product, I wouldn't have been surprised if they'd cost twice the money. But hey, let's not give him any ideas just in case he ends up watching this video. I never had the chance to buy one of his custom knives simply because there are never any left to buy, but even if I had previously to buying this, I honestly don't know if I would have done it, but probably not. Simply because I've never seen myself as someone who carries a fixed blade knife on a daily basis, and if I ever wanted to carry the fixed blade knife while I'm out and about and camping, I have other more hard-used knives that are bigger, tougher and more suited to those tasks. So the Heidi Bestech number 1 was a great way to A. get my hands on one of his designs, and B. find out for myself if carrying a fixed blade knife actually works for me without spending a ton of money. So spoiler alert, I absolutely adore this knife. I have carried it for weeks on end, and besides my Chris Reeve Menandi and my Lion Steel Jack 3, this has been my most carried knife over the past 2 years. So how's that, you might ask? I don't look like I'm insane, and I probably also don't look like I'm doing a very demanding manual labor job for which I might need a fixed blade knife in my day-to-day life. I know I actually work as a lawyer, so technically speaking, I don't need a knife in my job at all. I don't even open my own letters at work. But I'm not always working, and during the rest of my day-to-day life, I often encounter situations in which it is very convenient to have some kind of cutting tool available at my disposal, as any person who's ever tried carrying a knife would also confirm. With that being said, in at least 90% of those situations, a slip joint knife, which is a folding knife with a non-locking blade, like your regular old Swiss Army knife, or in fact this beautiful Lion Steel Jack 3, would be more than sufficient to get the job done. The drawback here is, however, that these knives can just fold in on your hands since they don't have any locking mechanism. Now that has never happened to me, but I guess once would be enough to truly ruin my day. So there are actually situations in which using a slip joint knife might be downright dangerous just because of that. With a fixed blade, you obviously don't have that issue. But there are of course also folding knives that do have a locking mechanism. And that is true, however, they are, for the most part, not legal to carry here in Germany, at least if they can also be opened using only one hand. They are legal to own, however, so I have a few, and you can also actually carry them if you have a socially acceptable reason to do so, like for outdoor activities or if you need them for your job. For the most part though, if that is not the case, you can't legally carry them, so for me, they are pretty much out of the picture. A fixed blade knife, however, at least those with a blade length of less than 12 centimeters, is perfectly legal to carry here. There are, however, also reasons for you to consider a fixed blade knife over a locking folder, even if you can legally carry them. First of all, even locking mechanisms can fail, so having them might actually give you a false sense of security, even when realistically the knife can still fold in on your hand if you use it the wrong way. Secondly, there are no moving parts that can wear off or that need to be cleaned, oiled and replaced every once in a while. And thirdly, there are way fewer gaps and creases into which grime and stuff can get into and make your knife gross over time. So if you are already at a point where you carry a knife, maybe it's time to give a fixed blade a try, and the Heidi is a great place to start in my opinion. The knife is full tang, meaning that it is one piece of steel that runs through the whole length of the handle, which makes the knife very durable and reliable. The steel they used here is good old D2 tool steel, which certainly can't hold a candle to modern super steels, but it's really not bad either. It is very easy to sharpen, fairly corrosion resistant, and keeps a good edge for a long time. For the handles, you can get either a two-tone G10 handle, like I did, with this green and black combo, or a G10 and carbon fiber mix handle in all black, or a brown micarta handle, which actually looks really interesting, but is apparently never available anywhere. No matter which handle material you go for, they all also come with a Kydex sheath. The price varies slightly depending on your handle material, but all knives are in the range of 120 to 140 euros. So not too bad in my opinion. I'm just putting this out there, if they ever release a version with green micarta handles, I'd buy it immediately. But whatever, the G10 is also fine by me. It looks and feels good enough and is very durable. The blade is roughly 3.2mm thick and comes with a saber grind. So it's certainly not as much of a slicer as most of Heidi's custom knives, most of which come with a 2mm thick blade and a full flat grind. But whatever, this thickness and grind certainly also have their advantages. It makes the knife very durable, looks sick in my opinion, and with that, the knife is even more suitable for some more outdoorsy tasks like light batoning, so that's bonus points in my book. I have actually used it for that on hiking trips. With this, a small folding saw like the Silky Pocket Boy, and a foldable wood burning stove like this bush box, you can have a fire up and running in no time flat. Just find yourself a not too big dead branch, quickly cut it into sections at a length that they are just able to stand upright in the stove, then baton those pieces with your knife, make some finer pieces and shave some wood feathers, use that fire steel, which is actually very easy with the 90-degree spine, and bada bing bada boom, you got yourself a fire to cook on. How lovely. Very quick and easy process, which gives you more time to kick back, enjoy your surroundings and ponder existence. After you're done taking a breather, quickly wipe that blade off and cut up some fresh veggies and stuff you brought for your meal. Throw that all in a pot or pan and there you go. As far as other EDC tasks go, I don't think you need me to tell you that this is capable of cutting open boxes and letters, and even though it's fairly thick, it's still absolutely possible to cut up an apple with this as well. On top of all of its capabilities, however, it's oddly enough less obtrusive to carry than any of my folding knives. And that's probably mostly because of its size and weight. As you can see, even at its widest point at the handle, it is still slimmer than the Chris Reeve Small Sebenza, and also even slimmer than the Chris Reeve Nandi, both of which aren't big knives by any standard either. And that is excluding the thickness of their pocket clips. You do, however, get a slight bump in thickness with the sheath where the Kydex meets the handle. But even at that point, it is overall still ever so slightly thinner than my Lion Steel Jack 3, which again is also by no means a big knife. And don't forget that you get a full tang 3.2mm thick piece of steel here that absolutely shits on all of these folding knives in terms of durability. The size overall is very comparable to the CRK Small Sebenza, which would be even more obvious if I had it with a drop point blade. It is also very lightweight, and because of all of that, it just disappears in almost all of my pants pockets. There are some pants where the pockets are not that deep and I can feel it slightly digging into my leg when sitting down, so losing another half a centimeter or centimeter in overall length would probably be even more ideal to me, But again, depends on your pens, and obviously that would most likely mean less of an edge to work with. I mostly keep the knife wedged up against my wallet to keep it from falling over in my pocket, but with that, it's just a very unobtrusive and pleasant knife to carry. Also, just in case you are wondering, the handle geometry is just right for those finer everyday tasks. You can get a good 5-finger grip on it, and with the big finger guard, you always feel secure and there's no fear of slipping and cutting yourself. Besides that, the tall blade also allows you to do finer tasks that would be more complicated with a regular folder, since you're almost able to put the edge flat on your working surface while still holding the knife, unlike most folders, where that would simply never be possible. So in conclusion, for me personally and for my EDC needs, carrying a fixed blade knife is completely overkill, and I rarely ever have a need for the added durability and safety that a fixed blade brings to the table. But at the same time, with something as slim, lightweight and unobtrusive to carry like this, it also just doesn't hurt to carry it. It never got in the way. And having all of those capabilities and not needing them is in my opinion always better than needing them and not having them, especially if they don't come at any added cost. For me, being left-handed, another bonus is that I don't need any kind of special version of this, like I do on a lot of folding knives, especially those that come with a pocket clip. So with all of that being said, I love this knife, and I would also love to get one of Heidi's custom knives at some point down the road. Even though chances of that ever happening are slim to none. But whatever, I'm truly glad that he licensed off his design to Bestech, so that poor souls like myself also got a chance to get their hands on one of his designs. I have, however, noted that the brown micarta handle versions aren't available anywhere anymore, and I've seen other models heavily discounted, so I kind of fear that these knives are going away for good. That is in fact the very reason why I decided to make this video right now, so that any of you who might actually be interested in buying one of these knives can make up their mind and just go for it while you still can. But anyway, that's all I got for you today. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to see more. Feel free to also follow me on Instagram. I have been pretty much inactive over there for a long time, but I'm planning to upload more EDC and daily life photos again over the coming weeks and months. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Until next week, take care. Bye.